Welcome to Hollywood Impact. My name is Eric Grubbs, and with me today is Zach Edwards and Christian McCrite.
What's up?
What's going on, buddy? You guys all right?
Oh, yeah.
I like that hat, Christian.
Thank you.
I'm digging it.
I am not a person who normally wears Western wear, but I was in Texas.
Tell.
Okay.
We know.
All right, okay. Well, I thought I was going to get support as soon as I did this, but I guess not. So I'm going to own it. I went to Texas for a week. And it changes a man. It actually didn't. I stayed inside most of the time because it was hot.
It's so hot, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we are talking about the new movie that just came out, Twisters. Before we get started, I'm going to give you the overview of the movie here. Kate Cooper, a former storm chaser traumatized by a past encounter, is coaxed back into the field by her friend Javi to test new tech for tracking tornadoes. There, she clashes with thrill-seeking social media star Tyler Owens. As a historic storm season unfolds, their paths collide as terrifying new weather phenomena emerge. Kate, Tyler, and their teams must race against time and the elements to survive. This movie is directed by Lee Isaac Chung and stars Daisy Edgar Jones, Glen Powell, and Anthony Ramos. Guys, what you think? Initial thoughts? Spoiler free.
Spoiler free, yeah. We are starting this spoiler free. So if you have already seen this and you want to see the spoiler stuff, go ahead and move to this timestamp right here. But initial reactions, well, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now I was supposed to watch the original leading up to this, but there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I did not get around to it. So from the perspective of somebody who doesn't remember hardly anything from the first movie or from the original movie, I still really enjoyed this movie. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be. You know, my initial thought was it's just going to be, I don't know, disaster porn. And it was just,
Wow.
You know what I mean? Just storm after storm. But this one actually had a pretty good story that went along with it.
It did.
And the special effects were great. Cast was great. I really enjoyed it. I saw it in the IMAX. I think that made a big difference too. It was full. But I had a good time.
Yeah, we saw it in the IMAX as well. Definitely makes a difference, I think, on the big screen because, like you said, the special effects are really good. And, compared to the original, it's so much better on the special effects.
Have you guys seen? So you haven't seen the original in a while. What about you?
I watched it Wednesday night, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It has some charm,
It does.
It's got that 90s appeal.
Well, you can't deny a 1996 Helen Hunt. She should be adored. And but it's that movie just takes place basically within 24-hour time span.
Right, yeah.
And they're just going from storm to storm to storm, and there's not really much to it.
No, there's not.
But for the time, 1996, the special effects were great.
Right.
I remember as a kid watching it. I was in high school. I'm like, this movie's good.
Yeah.
But no, this one here, it's kind of a standalone sequel. There's some connections to the original, but not character-wise or anything like that. So it's not, the first one's not necessary viewing by any means.
No.
But I really did like this one a lot. Christian, who's your favorite character?
I mean, it'd kind of be easy to say Tyler Owens because Glen Powell is what a star.
Dude, that guy's the man.
I don't know where exactly he came from. I think the first time I saw him was not from Top Gun Maverick. I saw him on a trailer for that one romance movie with Sydney Sweeney, and I'm like, who is this guy? Then I saw Top Gun Maverick, and I was like, okay, this dude is real life Booster Gold, basically.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a nerd reference for those of you who don't know. But this movie, he really I don't want to say he carries the film because I think the lead actress, she's really good.
Yeah.
Kate as a character, her emotion drives the story, but Glen Powell's acting and his demeanor and the way he reacts to things is just you can't help but laugh and smile whenever he's on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got an infectious charisma.
Yeah.
It would be easy to name him my favorite character, but for me, I like Kate.
Yeah.
I thought she was
She's
really
a
cool.
really good character.
She went through that early trauma in the film, and once she gets back into it, she's still fearful of it, but she gets over that, and in the final act, what she does, I thought she was great. I really liked her. Zach, who was your favorite character?
I'm going to take the easier out. I love Tyler
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Glen Powell stan through and through.
I think we all three have a slight man crush with Glen Powell, for being honest with ourselves.
It's hard not to.
It really is.
He's just the most handsome guy in Hollywood right now. But I was impressed with Kate. I was very impressed. I thought going into it that, this movie was going to be all Glen Powell carrying it. But Daisy, right, is her name, I believe.
Well, that's her real. That's her real name. Yeah,
she did a really good job.
Yeah, that's my first experience with her.
Yeah, same here.
But and Javi wasn't bad. There was some. I remember him from. He was one of the Transformers, Rise of the Beast or something.
I could not think where I saw him.
Yeah, he's good too. But really, that kind of rounded out kind of the main cast.
Yeah, everyone else is pretty supportive.
Was there anyone for you guys that you didn't really care for?
They didn't really give a ton of. Not really any other character got like a lot to say. They were all about even, just very...
Yeah, it was pretty focused between those three characters. And so I don't think that anybody got like the short end of the stick necessarily.
Right, yeah.
I kind of wish there were certain scenes where when things get really bad, like in the second half of the movie, there are some times where I wish that the Arkansas Wrangler crew was a little bit more around, because sometimes like bad things would happen and then they would just show up in the aftermath, and I'm like, what happened to them?
Yeah, they were there very little in the second half.
And I thought they were really interesting. Like this movie does such a cool thing where it shows you like the different perspective between like storm chasers from New York and something of a storm chaser from Arkansas. And because as soon as they said like, oh yeah, like these are guys from Arkansas, and they pulled up in that truck, and I was like, that I would believe every bit of that. Like that has to be real. Somebody out there is probably doing that right now. I would believe it. But they have a lot of cool gadgets, a lot of cool tech, and I like that the soundtrack in this movie. Banger soundtrack, by the way.
It's pretty good.
I'm not even really into like country music a lot, but I listened to the whole album like on the way there and back. But
so you're telling me you're gonna sit there with a cowboy hat coming back from Texas,
100%,
and you don't even like country music.
I am dipping my toes into the culture. I am testing the waters of the pool of country, but. The soundtrack is so good. The Ain't No Love in Oklahoma is a great song, but I tell you what I noticed, right, is when we were in the theater, right, there's like a general good amount of people who are about our age, right? Then there's some people who are like up there in age, right? And sorry, that was a weird way of kind of doing it, but they're older folks, and I knew exactly, because when they played Ain't No Love in Oklahoma, I look around, there's like a few people our age, doing this, but then they played Ghost Riders in the Sky, and the only people moving in the audience was like the 7 or 8 old people who were like, yeah, like Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Kind of like some of the old people at the Republican convention when Kid Rock came out.
Oh yeah, when Kid Rock's coming out.
Yeah,
that was so weird.
All the old people can't clap or rhyme like on beat. Oh gosh, but it was a cool experience, because I feel like, especially like in a giant packed room, being with a bunch of people, it was more packed than I anticipated, and I feel like everyone else enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah.
And it's like you didn't have to ask anybody. Like you just kind of felt it. Like this is just a solid movie all around.
Did they clap in your theater?
No, there was no clapping.
Yeah, not in ours either.
No, there was one person who tried to clap at the end. There was one person who like started to and realized that nobody else was doing it.
Thankfully, no one else joined. For viewers at home, do not clap in a theater.
Don't clap when you land a plane.
No. The only movies you're allowed to clap for are like Avengers movies. Like the only clapping I've ever like really been a part of for a film is like Infinity War and Endgame. Those movies you can appropriately clap for, because those are like beyond epic generational movies.
I'll still judge you though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to join you. I'll just enjoy that you do that.
Let's get into some spoilers.
Yes, spoilers ahead.
Spoiler alert. All right,
Warning
guys. What worked for you the most in this movie?
Probably right off the bat, having deaths.
Yeah.
Like watching the first Twister, like there was not a single character that died, I don't think. At least not an important one.
No, it was Joe's dad in the first one.
Exactly, yeah. Like just,
and you didn't know him.
Yeah, just to set up, the main character's, story. And in this one, they do a similar thing to set up her story, but there's much more connection. You get a sense that, like, you care a little more about them than you do Joe's dad.
Yeah, and I had an idea, like, all right, something's going to happen. Maybe it's just, I didn't know it was going to happen to the extent that it did.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
like, oh, dang. Okay.
We're going there.
So it's just her.
Yeah.
And Javi's back in the truck, you know? So, yeah, no, good point. Yeah.
It set the mood for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree, but there was something they did with it that I didn't really like. And that's, yes, they killed off, what was it, three of their friends, right, in the beginning of the movie. And the first two, they had like little to no reaction when they died. Especially the first guy. That poor guy.
Yeah.
He just gets sucked up. Nobody turns their head.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting here thinking,
they didn't
no
know.
one's anything.
they were just running.
Brother's gone. And then they try to get under this underpass, and then the hippie girl, I don't remember what her name is, like Abby.
I think Allie.
Allie?
Yeah.
Allie, Addie, Abby, same
like
thing.
that.
Yeah, she go.
Then she's gone, and Kate kind of had a reaction to it, just like a little bit.
Yeah, because they're trying to grab her and lift her up the overpass.
But when she got hit, she just kind of like turned her head. It was like, oh, and then she crawled up, and then the boyfriend, and then she just starts screaming, and I was like, you know, your two other friends also died. You know, you could have screamed for them a little bit. So it was cool to start off like saying like, hey, this is supposed to be like fun, but also like very real. Like this is not something that we mess around with. Like tornadoes are the real deal, and this kind of stuff that happens in this film, other than the tech gadgetry, that stuff is real and impacts real lives.
You're telling me Dorothy ain't real? Dorothy the Fifth?
Oh, she's real, just in some sort of movie, The Wizard of Oz. That's how I know her. Dorothy, I hardly know her. Sorry, anyways. But that was something that kind of took me out of the movie. But I thought the biggest strength of this movie was being able to, they perfectly balanced having good humor with really deep emotion and like tense situations. Because there are moments where I'm like, I don't know who's gonna die. I'm sitting here thinking in my head, he's gonna die, she's gonna die, and then like they don't, but somebody else does, and I'm like, oh, they're safe, but they're not safe, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. I think it does a really good job of understanding, like, hey, we're not just trying to remake the original film, like we are going to go in a different, unique place, but also this is really about tornadoes. This is what it's about.
What I really liked was, and especially compared to the first one, is it showed both the humanity and like the inhumanity that these disasters can bring. You know, that's not really touched upon. Like, I don't think in the first one there's one tornado that hits a town. No. But this one shows like the aftermath and just the total destruction and what these people go through. And guys, we live in that area where that's that could be a reality for us. Now, you may be too young to remember when Joplin got it just a few years ago, but I remember going down there and seeing that, and it was just like, I mean, in real life, you know, it's just
scary.
It is. And I thought this movie did a good job of showing that, and then also seeing that, okay, there are going to be some bad people that's going to come in and take advantage of it. And, you know, that kind of went with Javi's, you know, he was kind of a part of that, you know, but just them going and like, we got to help people. I thought that was really important. I'm glad they brought that element to this movie, especially compared to the first one.
Yeah, it added a lot to the story.
Oh, yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know, like the first one, the only time they go, it's not even really a town. It's whenever her aunt, you know, her house crumbles. That's the only time where they're looking like in destruction and helping a person, but it's just, you know, they're helping a main character.
Did you know, because I learned this, that the guy who worked for Stormpar, the jerk, Scott, that's David Corenswet, who's going to play Superman, by the way.
Was it really?
Wow.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know that because I saw his name in the end. Yeah, well, you can look it up. I saw his name in the end.
So excited.
Well, it was a little tidbit I thought was fun, and I kind of, you know, I noticed it, and I kind of, you know, I have that to myself. And
don't do that with the hat on.
But his name popped up in the end credits, and I was like, oh, is there some other guy named that? And I looked it up, and I was like, that's Superman. That's 2 movies that Superman has been in with tornadoes. So, because there's a tornado in Man of Steel.
And Man of Steel.
Look at that, making connections.
Good catch, Christian. That a boy.
Yeah. But I think that touching on that, there are people who take advantage. That was really cool, because then it creates conflict among those characters. I think it's really compelling, because Javi clearly wants to do good, but he kind of has to settle for doing business with this guy who's clearly not a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool, unique thing to put in the film. And beyond that, I really loved the scene when Kate is talking to Tyler, and he has his face on t-shirts and mugs, stuff like that, and she starts railing him for the fact that he's doing that. But what she didn't understand
is why he was doing
it. He was selling that stuff so he could buy food and water for people that go through stuff like this. And that moment was really cool, because I was like, is Tyler just going to be like that jerk, like really cool guy that she gets with at the end or whatever? But it turns out he's actually a really good guy. He's actually a really good person. And that it was just, this movie surprised me through and through. I knew that it was going to be like a fun time, but I didn't realize how much I was going to like this movie. Yeah. And I really do.
Was there anything that just didn't work for you guys? Like for me, I don't know shit about weather apparently. Because like when they're explaining some of this stuff, I needed to have like, you had the British reporter, right? I needed him to be asking these questions like, hey, can you dumb this down for me a little bit?
Yeah.
I think it would make it a little bit more enjoyable for me if I did understand how like this stuff works.
Right. The like terminology.
Yeah, just the science behind it, because they were kind of going through it really quick, and I'm like, wait, what? I do kind of want to learn something here, but I mean that's kind of a nitpick, because this movie was really good, but that was just something for me that I kind of noticed.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah. I think it could have done a better job by, I hate to say dumbing it down, but really that is what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's making it more broad for your audience. And because like if you're a kid, like you're not going to understand like half the language they use in this movie. They talk storm language constantly.
Yeah.
And so if you're not like on top of it trying to figure out what they're saying, like you're just going to hope that the tornadoes show up and do destruction, and that's kind of the movie that you're getting.
Well, that's a noble thing that they're trying to do. What she wants to weaken a tornado but maybe explain that a little bit more to me, like how this would work, or maybe the science is just like that's nonsense,
right?
And they can't in real life. I have no idea.
That's kind of what I was thinking, was like, wow, like if they can do this in the movie, like I wonder how accurate that would be to real life. And if it's just not, maybe that's part of it. It's kind of like a suspension of disbelief kind of thing. So
I got the feeling it's kind of like in Fast and Furious movies, whatever, they're all like at a round table and they're talking cars and it's just all bullcrap. That's kind of but I don't know anything about weather either, so I don't know. But you just kind of get the sense like, okay, this is a suspension of disbelief.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely probably could use some dumbing down.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
No, I think that's it. I think this is a solid movie.
Yeah.
Very few nitpicks, but I think that there's a lot that this movie has to offer, and I think you should go see it.
It's for a disaster type movie. It's deep. It's not just about the destruction. There's a lot more to it. So
this movie is what things like San Andreas and Geostorm and stuff like that. This movie is what those movies want to be.
Yeah.
Like they try to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Gerard Butler and try to have a cool character with all these emotional moments that all these cities are falling apart. But they don't do it nearly as well as this movie does.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of elements that go into that. But
yeah, if you compare it to other disaster movies, it's like the best there is.
So this is like way better than most like ecological disaster movies.
Right, yeah. I immediately think of like 2012, San Andreas. And it's
there was one back
better.
in the 90s called Hard Rain.
Hard Rain.
Christian Slater was in it. I barely remember it.
Wow. I don't remember it. So.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was like a parody trailer when I first saw it. I'm like, oh, no, this is a real movie. It's about rain.
Man. Rain.
Hard
Flash
rain.
floods. Wow. They're going to get you.
Hey, the flash floods about got me
They got this area not too long ago.
Yeah, it was flooding down here. Half the town was underwater.
Is The Birds considered a disaster movie or a horror movie?
Which one?
The Birds.
The
Is that what it's called? The old movie?
Oh, the old one?
I think you're talking about Bird Box.
The Alfred Hitchcock one?
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be a disaster movie.
That would be close to Twisters.
I see.
Not in the same class.
Yeah. You want to give it a rating?
I do.
Go ahead, Tex.
I'm gonna give it
You got some tornado wrangling to do, so better give us your rating.
I'm gonna give it an 8. It's a solid movie. Even though I have very few things that I don't like about it, like very few things. I wouldn't say it's like a fantastic, phenomenal movie. Like I probably wouldn't see this in the theater again, but like every now and then, like maybe like once a year from like traveling to Texas or Oklahoma, I'll pull this movie up. It's a good movie.
I would agree. I think it's an 8 out of 10. Like comparing it to just as a normal movie compared to other movies, I'd absolutely agree that's an 8. The best in its class. Yeah. But just, giving it a fair opinion, I'd say an 8 out of 10.
Yes.
I can't give this an 8, or I can't give this a 10, and Oppenheimer also a 10. Those are two very different.
Correct. Like as a disaster movie, this is like a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah. Like from that specific category, but from a general movie's perspective, we agree.
Yep.
I'm gonna go a little higher, guys. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Whoa!
It was better than I thought. It is a disaster movie. I want to rank it as such. It doesn't get a 10 because I don't know that I will watch it again. Because after watching it in the IMAX, I'm not going to spend the money to go watch it again in the theater. Yeah. I'm not going to get the same experience at home.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it a 9.
I like that.
We apologize that we have not been around for about 3 weeks. Got a lot of stuff going on, but we are getting ready to be back on track, and we are going to be doing a lot of things differently now. But we're very excited for the future.
Yep. Guys, thanks a lot. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye-bye.